Many of you have asked me and requested that I record a report about the international brigades.
Those people who come here to fight to protect the civilian population of Donbass, who are they?
How do they arrive in this territory? Today I present to you a very, very special case. They are two Spanish speakers, two Colombians to be exact. Two people who are very different and yet very, very similar at the same time. The reasons that drive them are different. One has ideological reasons, the other has purely humanitarian reasons. And here they met for the memory of Alexis Castillo and above all, for the defense of the civilian population of Donbass.
We see that the United States did end up in Ukraine. And well, for their own interests, as they always do in every country where they intervene.
The free world is with you, America is with you, I am with you.
The last straw was already the events of May 2nd, not that one. Well, they killed all those people in the House of Trade Unions. An ultra-nationalist movement, yes, like Travis Hector, that's why.
All these children died in this neighborhood.
There's a neighborhood here, another one further up near a town, and this was once a daycare.
A daycare? But are you telling me they were shooting directly at a daycare, or did they not know where they were shooting?
They were shooting, well, at the tunnel. They didn't care whether there were trustees or not. For them, none of that was very important.
The destruction is as if it were caused by a large caliber artillery piece. This isn't done by an 82mm piece.
Of high caliber, are you sure? This is a war crime if there are injured people, minors and all that. And it's a residential area where there's nothing, so it should be considered a war crime.
You mean they aimed right at the school? Absolutely.
Of course.
But in what sense would that make any sense?
Well, I don't know, it's like creating horror. What it does is instill terror in the civilian population, so that the civilian population turns against the government or the authorities. This has happened to us here for a long time and in other countries too. Of course, what terrifies us more is something happening to our loved ones. What does this tell you?
Are we recording a video? Come here, I'm already recording it.
Okay.
Haha. I wasn't expecting to find this surprise, but here are the Colombian internationalists who have come here.
For what reason?
We didn't come here to fight fascism or honor Alexis Castillo's memory. Well, before it was impossible for us because of financial reasons. But now we are here fighting for the people of Donbas, fighting against fascism, defending these people, and to show that everything they sell us in the West is a complete lie.
We are going to continue the legacy of our comrade Alexis Castillo and finish what he started. There are many Colombians who perhaps
They are going
to confront us, but if they knew the truth, they would join us and be here too.
Thank you.
And what if the residents of this park thank the volunteers from Colombia?
Can't they see? So what?
Are they
Grateful?
amazing? People see us and only care that we're here to defend them, not where we're from. If they're truly afraid, as they claim in the West, do you think people would just walk by and hug us like this? Because yes, nothing.
Victory
Is the most important thing.
Take care, guys.
They shall not pass, no.
They shall not pass. Gabriel's the fascist will not pass.
They also say they shall not pass, wishing them victory.
Thank you, Madrona. Thank you two girls and the boys as well.
Thank you, Dad.
Oh God, this was so beautiful. Thank you. There were heroes like that, you know, To make sure no one hurts you, no one will hurt them, we won't let anyone hurt them.
Goodbye.
I'm not going to say much more. I want you to listen to them. Here goes the testimony of those who come despite the propaganda.
I mean, attempts.
Kesley.
The first question is for you to introduce yourselves to the audience and say where you're from, a little bit about yourselves.
Briefly?
Well, we're Colombian. I'm Mo and he's Rafael. We're here to defend and support the people of Donbass. We believe in the freedom of these people. We believe in everything they deserve. They deserve to be free. We don't believe in the lies they've sold us in the West. As I already said, the two of us are Colombians, and we are here purely to defend these people.
We're happy to contribute, even if it's just a small part. To take part in this great struggle, a great example for our future colleagues. May they feel eager to come here.
Thank you.
Why do you come here?
Well, first of all, for some time now, since the Maidan coup, we clearly knew who the real villain was. We'll discuss fascist ideologies that have plagued the world for a long time, not individuals. And well, this territory has been greatly affected by that. Alexis Castillo was a hero and friend who inspired me, even though we never met in person. I did everything possible to get here. And later I started a project to begin attracting all the Latinos or anyone who wanted to come and support this cause. That's how I met Rafael, and he's here with me today.
It could go beyond politics, even beyond the interests of geopolitics and world powers. But for me, it goes beyond social justice. And with that focus, seeing so many deceptions that the West tries on people, the news, the murders against people living in Donetsk, for example, who were beaten or killed simply for speaking Russian, for me, that was something unacceptable. So I felt I had to contribute more, like I'm doing now. As I said before, my small contribution is to continue the fight of our comrade who fell in combat for sharing our mindset.
Here there will also be action and training footage since, unlike what is usually reported in Western media,
These people who are brought here from the Russian Federation and thrown into a kind of meat grinder actually receive training.
they are doing it right now. These guys are cared for just like everyone else.
They are important to the Russian Federation, so before going to the front, they always receive the necessary training.
Cheers.
An interesting detail I nearly forgot. Here they receive orders in Russian and give them in Russian, even when they're training themselves.
I mean, the typical dabai is very common to hear among these guys who don't look Russian at all, but they're Russian at heart.
My story goes back to my teenage years. In my teenage years at school, I learned about Russia, about the Soviet Union, about proletarian strength, and how should we change the world, and how should things work so that people, let's say, from the lower classes have better job opportunities, education, and quality of life. And Russia was unprecedented for that. So since then, since my teenage years, I fell in love with all the work, the industrial power, the study, everything that Russia has given to the world. And it has also seemed terrible to me to see how they have been minimized in the West, saying that they are cavemen, that they are ignorant. And when I got here, I realized it was the complete opposite.
Why the Russian Federation and why the Donbass course for you?
Look, this comes from something a bit more personal. It goes back to when I was very young, always having the option of not believing everything you're told. Since I was young, friends taught me about that, and I always questioned myself. Question whether what you see and hear is true. And really when in 2014 I was a kid, I was 15 years old and I was still in school. And I was a big fan of the Soviet Union because of what it did in World War II when it completely destroyed the Wehrmacht in Stalingrad. That stuck with me. And I said to myself, something doesn't add up. A classmate explained the topic to me, and gradually I realized it wasn't as the media claimed. I was just a kid who needed to finish school. I couldn't contribute. I couldn't help in any way because I was just a kid and needed to finish my studies with many things to do. What's going on? Now that I have my military experience from Colombia and what I've learned in the past 4 years since leaving, and that this opportunity comes up again. It felt like I was being told to leave immediately. Why? When I was in Holland, every day since the war began, I thought about what happened in Bakhmuto and everything else. I would say you have to contribute your experience, you have to give your time, go further, really look for how to help. Not for the money, because money is fine. You can get money anywhere. But do something because your heart truly tells you to, because you know that if you do something with your heart, you'll have people who will support you, people who will always want to be there with you. Why? Because you did things selflessly. Why do you give? Why is it a gift? Simply because I want to defend these people. Simply, yesterday when I realized that a lady hugged us, that for me meant that we are really doing things right.
Here we are at the military training camp with two Colombians who are currently training to eventually end up at the front, just as they did once before for 8 long years.
Alexis Castillo, for whose memory both of them have ended up here. For the memory of Alexis and to defend the civilians of Donbass.
During the Maidan coup, I saw a brief report about Alexis Castillo. At the time, I didn't give it much importance. I didn't really understand. Later, as I grew older and when the special military operation began, I already had military experience and I knew I had to come here. I knew I had to support these people. I knew that something inside me was pushing me and telling me every day that I had to find a way. For a year, I tried to come here to meet Alexis and fight by his side, but it wasn't possible. But his memory will not die as long as there are more people who, like me, wish to continue his legacy.
I only knew him briefly when I became interested in the subject. As I mentioned, I was a kid and met him not long ago. I read his story and saw that even the president later spoke about his death. We shared a lot because he's from Zarzal and I'm from Buga. In the same department, they're practically next door. Well, if I were there, that's what I would say. And what happens? When someone achieves so much with the same heart, with the same struggle as before, with the one who put in the most effort, it motivates you too. Why? It's in your blood as a Colombian. When welcomed, Colombians know how to be grateful.
In your brigade, what role do you play?
How do they treat you? Well, you've already mentioned it, but just in general terms and overall, what is your day-to-day life like here?
Well, clearly, as I already said, I am a combat medic. I have experience as a nurse. I'm a paramedic and a rescuer. I perform that role when I go to the front, which is very occasional, mainly because of the language barrier. My day-to-day is mostly based on logistics work inside the base. But currently I'm working on a project to support unofficially people who want to come and help with this cause. And to create a Latin brigade, in fact, the idea is to create the Alexis Castillo Brigade.
Is that your dream?
It's my dream. Tesla.
Tell me how your trip was. I mean, were you recruited by someone from the Russian Federation?
It wasn't entirely voluntary. Actually, in Colombia, well, I tried on my own. I made a first trip. I couldn't finish the trip and had to return to Colombia because of financial and family problems. Then I traveled to Venezuela to seek support at the embassy of the Russian Federation there in Caracas. They gave me some information. They just told me, well, you can try to travel or something, but they didn't really tell me anything. Yes, perfect. We're going to support you with the trip. No, they just told me, well, if you want to be a volunteer, you have to get there.
So there wasn't any official way? No?
There wasn't any official way, so I pretty much considered the opportunity to come and help lost. Then by chance, someone helped me financially, allowing me to make the trip. I arrived in Russia as a tourist, and the moment I got to Russia, well, it was a bed of roses. I found people were different from what we were shown. They treated me very well. I didn't have any money when I got here, and they bought me food, they fed me, they gave me clothes, they gave me train tickets to get to Donetsk. They sent someone to meet me at the Uspenska checkpoint. And then, well, I got really worried because I came with the mindset that the Russians were a different kind of people. For a long time I thought, this isn't normal. They're treating me well. Are they planning something? Cannon fodder or something else? It turned out to be the opposite. I've been here for 4 months, and during this time, because of my difficulty communicating, I focused on learning the language. While doing that, I served as a combat medic, and they took great care of me. I think they overprotect me sometimes.
How did you get here? Well,
Mine was very complicated. Actually, I was in the Netherlands working. I'd already been discussing it with my friends for months. So my family knew I wanted to go to Russia, but they would say no and ask why I wanted to go. But look, deep down I would say, no, yeah, you're right. But that thought always stayed in my mind, like saying I have to go. Until by fate, I met my partner, M.O. I met him there through social media. We talked and saw that we had certain things in common. Thanks to him, I basically asked him, how could I serve the cause? And fortunately, he responded to me in a kind way. Obviously, always taking care that, could it be because of everything that's happened with the media? I'm going to take the risk. Anyway, it's my own will to want to come here. And he asked me for the documents, and in less than 2 weeks, I was already here. What
motivates someone?
to leave absolutely everything and come here to defend the people of a country that isn't even supposed to be yours?
Look, Leo, there's one thing, and that's fascism. If we let fascism spread throughout the world, then there won't be any opportunities for anyone. In a way, I'm worried about my fellow countrymen who went to support Ukraine and ended up leaving with their tails between their legs because they've been treated worse for being South American, for having a different skin tone. Rafael and I even saw a video where someone who was homosexual was discovered in the Ukrainian troops and was beaten. They're even more masochistic, so to speak, and he said it's not unique. I'll return to try to support Ukraine and its poor people. Look, this is not a fight against the people. We have to eradicate fascism. If fascism spreads, if it keeps going like this, then what will happen to minorities? Then what will happen to people? People with a different skin tone, then someone will just believe they're superior. It will become a cult because fascist ideology is a cult of a leader. Did fascism die with Hitler, or does it still exist today? Fascism continues. And many people don't know it. Many people ignore it. Others will label me as a terrorist because that's what they say about those of us who come to support Russia. But the people who come from abroad to commit atrocities in the name of defending the Ukrainian people, which are really just the interests of the United States. What would the United States do if Russia put missiles on the Mexican border? They'd obviously intervene, right? But why is that bad for...
Me, I came mainly to defend people. Why? Because I've always had that feeling. When I enlisted in the Colombian army, it wasn't because of the president or fighting guerrillas. No, sir. I wanted to defend village residents. Unfortunately, criminal groups with such names or organization are harming the population. The same thing happens here. It's the same. In this war, there is good and bad. There are no good guys or bad guys. You lose. Yes, you lose. But why haven't they said the same thing about the other wars that have happened? When, for example, the United States has wanted to invade whenever it wanted, or they've simply done whatever they wanted, and nobody has said anything. But what's going on? That now when there are people with white skin and they really want to, like saying, oh, making a big fuss and saying it can't be Ukraine. So let's take a not so distant example like what happened with Africa. People got tired, and the same thing is happening with these people. People made a big fuss. And what did Russia do? Help its own people. Because if you look at the latest votes, what did they do? Did they choose Russians as mayors? And what's the problem? Could I be wrong about that? But they chose them. I don't see that as an invasion or that they were being repressed. Now, when people see that we're from outside, I swear, I'm not lying. They treat us well. They ask us things. They smile at us. Actually, I've been in 3 different countries here in Europe, and in none of them have I felt the way I feel here. Because to give a not so distant example, in Colombia, people from Germany, Britain, Spain, they go to Colombia and people treat them wonderfully, whatever they need. What happens is when a Colombian travels abroad, they're often met with suspicion or treated poorly. But here I really felt like a foreigner. I felt good. I felt cool, and I appreciate that. And do you know how I repay that? Similarly, by offering my knowledge, energy, vitality, and time to this cause.
And those people you mentioned who have already helped you in the Russian Federation, how did you meet them?
Well, I was researching through the internet, through social networks. I started talking to people who were part of the Russian Federation, people who lived here, and I expressed to them my need, my desire to come and help. For the most part, if you made it here, you gained another friend. The vast majority told me that until I finally found someone who said, okay, I'm not part of any brigade. I'm not part of the Russian military forces, but I have contacts. I can help you get there, and I'll put you in touch with them so that an international brigade can receive you. In this case, Pianashka.
What's your daily experience in an international brigade?
How do you get along despite being so different?
Look, different maybe in terms of nationality and maybe in terms of language. But we're not that different in the way we think, act, or feel as brothers. That's what I appreciate about a brigade. I served in the army with people who spoke my language, but we weren't as close as we are here. I feel great. I wake up with boba, we train, and they motivate us. Good morning, hey Kagdila Bacano. And I'm learning the language because honestly, that's why you're here. I admit it. You learned languages like English, which you never cared about as a kid. So why not Russian? If I live here later, you'll need it.
Since it's an international brigade, how many of you are from different places?
Which nationalities do you know people from? What is daily life like and in what way? How do you tolerate the fact that you are all so different? How do you live together?
The use of the word tolerate seems strange to me. Do you know why? Because it's not necessary, because it's innate. Look, at the base where I am, there's an Italian, there's a Japanese guy, there are people from Ossetia. By the way, I first learned about Ossetia when I set foot on Russian territory. And there are people from Abkhazia. And well, in this case, it's Raphael and me, and that's it. Tolerance isn't like, oh, he's a foreigner, so I'm going to treat him differently. It's funny because when I arrived, I had doubts, and I asked him, within my suspicions, within my curiosity, I would say to them, well, don't you think it's really strange that a Colombia, which is a country that belongs to the United States support network, is here? They would tell me, no, it's normal. You have an ideology of supporting these people. You came here and now you're one of us. We have no reason to judge you differently. And then tolerance is part of daily life. It's the norm. Every day in the morning before the assemblies, it's a shower of hugs, handshakes, good mornings, and smiles. We share, well, we receive instructions to go about our daily lives. Each person, I don't know, some go to train, some do logistical work, others simply have the chance to rest. And that's how we take turns. We understand each other very well. We treat each other almost like family.
Are you a family?
We are a family, and
So in the brigade, they train you, I mean, they prepare you. They don't just throw you straight into wherever.
Don't look. When I arrived, I spent 5 days training comfortably. They trained us well and brought me to the range after a long time without holding a rifle. Honestly, the learning was quick and simple. They get right to the point. There's not so much, how do you say it? There's not so much stuff. There's not so many books for something you can really learn by doing. Spending those 2 weeks with people from Russia made me realize that. They appreciated Colombians and foreigners. Why do we have an advantage? Sorry to say this on camera. What wouldn't someone from outside do for you? That fighting is often called not your war, but when innocent people are affected, it's everyone's war. People are too focused on thinking, if it doesn't happen to me, I don't care.
And your family?
well, my family, I stopped back once another merit they give me, and I just want to contribute so the world can be a better place for everyone.
But have they always been similar to you in the way they think and see things?
Previously, they had a more closed mindset. But at a certain point, my father said, well, sit down and explain to me, why do you think that way? What motivates you? And when I spoke to him, I gave him, let's say, news that was unknown to him. If someone only watches the same Western news and hears the same things, they won't get the other side of the story. When I showed him the disc, he said many things now made sense that hadn't before, but he was amazed these things weren't displayed. And in a way, he understands my position.
Did they help you come?
Of course.
Did your family support you?
My family, like any loving family, will support whatever decision their child makes. Is that really so hard? Yes, why? Because as I said, they lived in Spain for a long time. They were practically raised there, just like I was. So what's the problem? News from the West? This and that, no this and that. Look, if the United States is the best, we already know the United States is the best, but at making movies. That's no secret to anyone. The same thing happens when you explain to them gradually. No mom, no dad, or brother, sister, whoever. You start explaining the details to them little by little, the topics or whatever needs to happen there so they can understand. You explain it to them. Whether they listen is uncertain, but you've done your part by sharing your motivation.
And they understood it? And they
understood it?
Considering that you have this dream of forming a brigade or a battalion in the name of Alexis Castillo, could you tell me what are the criteria by which, among the people who contact you, you choose those you could help and those you couldn't? Are there any criteria or limitations?
The limitation is they must understand we're not mercenaries. Many people have already reached out to me through social media or through Rafael. And when they write to us asking about the salary first, those people are automatically ruled out. We know that these are people who, well, let's see. We understand that no one works without compensation. It's understandable. We have families and expenses, but if you're only here for a salary, there are other things you could do. We're not mercenaries, we're not terrorists, we're simply volunteers who want to help. It's about understanding that we need to create a multipolar world, a world where there's not just one version. That's something innate. Another thing is being a fascist ideology. I mean, someone who shows that no, that they're superior, or who says, okay, I don't know the ideology of race, all that nonsense is automatically discarded. Sometimes there are no good or bad guys, just causes worth fighting for.
And if you had to say something to the people who are watching you?
It's going to be brief. It's going to be brief because honestly, here, No matter how many words I say to you, you're going to learn through your own experience or firsthand. Even if someone says 10 is 10, you'll insist it's 11. Okay? A lot of people are going to say that we are mercenaries, also as my colleague Movo mentioned. Honestly, I'm not here for the money. As I said, I earned good money in Holland and Spain. I do this from the heart because I truly feel the need. When they tell us, no, there was no payment this month, or no, there was no payment, I feel good when a lady gives me a hug or when the kids simply give us drawings of ourselves. It makes me feel like one of them, which pushes me to fight even harder, brother. Money is just paper, but your selfless actions will impact your life forever. If not, just ask our late Castillo.
If you had to say something to the people who are going to see you.
Say, yeah, it's complex. It's very complicated for people to change their way of thinking overnight. I tell them to always consider the other side and not rely only on the first information they get, that they sell you, because generally the mass media are the ones who have the monopoly on information. And they're going to sell you what they want, what they need you to know. And if they have the opportunity to help in one way or another in just causes, they should do it. They shouldn't hesitate for a second.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you for the opportunity for people to be able to listen to us. No.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here and serve.